Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here on Share Talk for Friday, the 11th of December. Starting off with Alpha Growth, where it looks like we've finally got a decent move here, breaking through that old July resistance at 2.7 pence, and an end of week close today above 2.7 pence could open up the door for a move towards the top of the one-year trend channel, currently pointing as high as 4 pence, and hopefully that could be seen as soon as the end of this month, if not by the end of January. At this stage, only back below 2.25 pence, basically today's support zone, and the turn of the month resistance for the shares really delaying the upside scenario on what hopefully would now be a bigger move than just up to 4 pence. Onto a situation which has been looking quite settled on a fundamental basis, but the shares haven't the shares have hesitated, let's say. Had a few weeks of consolidation around the 5 pence area for Asia Met, and that was the old resistance in October. But the view here is at least while we're above the 50-day line and the floor of the channel from October, we're looking for higher prices, hopefully up towards 8 pence at that October resistance line projection. And the only back below the 50-day line, currently at 4.5 pence, really delaying the upside scenario. One would now expect there to be no sustained price action back below the recent lows of around 4.8 pence. Moving along to a stock where a lot of people are still willing the shares up, but so far it looks like a sort of improving tone at bid stack, but haven't quite broken that line and the 50-day moving average, the line there from October, and the 50-day moving average at 5.84 pence. Looking for that to be broken on an end of day or end of week close basis. If we can get through 5.8 or so, then the upside here is a retest of post-August resistance. Hopefully that would come in as soon as 4 to 6 weeks after any break of the 50-day line. This stage only back below the 5 pence level and the floor of the rising August trend channel, really delaying the upside scenario. Been covering Contango quite a lot of late, and the reason is that it's a relatively simple chart, and the shares seem to be behaving themselves quite well. So we had a bull flag just resting on old resistance around the 6 pence level earlier this week. Bull flag breakout now, and the longer we remain above the initial December resistance at 7 pence, the greater the chance of a move to the top of the to that June resistance line projection, currently pointing at 14 pence, and hopefully that would be a target hit as soon as the end of next month. New name to look at now, and a relatively new chart, as you can see. Here we've got critical metals with a gap through resistance to start the week through 6 pence. And the view here is that at least while we're above that initial resistance for the shares at 5.9 pence, looking for a target as high as 9 pence over the next few weeks. So as long as we hold around the 6 pence area, 9 pence looks to be on the cards for critical metals. On to Canadian overseas, where you can see that the shares have just started to try a breakout attempt of this falling wedge, which has been in place since August. Once again, we really need to see an end-of-day close or a weekly close above the 50-day moving average, currently at 0.23 pence. If we can get that over the next week or so, then the upside here could be a retest of August resistance towards 0.55 pence. Onto a stock which has a lot of retail interest, and I suppose has to try and live up to it at the moment, if it can. It's Cat and I. Here you can see that the shares have been bumping along the bottom of this October trend channel, the floor of the channel around the 2.5 pence level, so the odd dip below 2.5, but basically holding that October line. And while there's no end of day close back below 2.5 pence, we're looking for hopefully a retest of late October, rather November resistance towards 3.5 pence. End of day close above the 50-day line at 2.84 pence, hopefully would open up the prospect of a 4.5 pence plus retest of November resistance by the end of next month. But reasonable risk reward there on that situation. Switching to an hourly chart for the next stock, which doesn't have much charting data. So Helium 1 back with us again. And here you can see that the shares have been in a rising trend channel since they started just a few days ago. Probably now looking to see, two things happen. Hopefully the floor of the channel here running towards the 7 pence area will hold on an end of day close basis. And while we're above 7 pence, looking for the top of the channel there, 10 or 11 pence as the target. If you're cautious, maybe you'd wait for a break or an end of day close above 7 3/4, which is the latest resistance for the shares. Back to the daily chart situation, and here we've got stock where there's gathering or growing interest at the moment, and you'll see why when I post the chart. We've got a break of a recent resistance line, November resistance line at 10 pence, and also that near-term moving average. And while we're above 10 pence, looking for the top of the rising November trend channel at 15 or even 16 pence, hopefully to be hit by the end of next month. At this stage, only really back below the floor of the channel there at 8 pence, really delaying or cancelling the upside scenario. Talked about Rearbold yesterday, and it was worth looking at it again today. The reason for that is we had an island reversal, a bear trap island reversal, which is impressive. It's a good reversal setup there. The gap to the upside has been held, so the floor of the gap there at 0.52, and that's been held. And really, while we're above 0.52 on an end of day close basis, yesterday's low, then we're looking for a return to 0.7 or 0.8 pence, which is post-August resistance for the shares. Announcement just out from remote monitored systems, so sort of worth looking at the charting position here. And here the point of interest, I suppose, really from a technical perspective, is the way that the 50-day line, the blue line there on the daily chart, has tended to come in as support for the shares. So that was in the case in October, ahead of the big spikes that we had in the shares. Also in November, up to before the 7 pence peak. And we're back there with the 200-day line now at 2.05. So looking for at least a weekly close above that particular level, that particular feature. If we can get that, then the shares are still on track for a 3.5 pence or 4 pence target, which would be the top of that November trend channel that I've drawn. At this stage, only really back below today's bear trap low at 1.8 pence, really delaying the recovery scenario for remote monitored. On to a stock which is rather less high profile, but doing well nonetheless, TransGlobe Energy. Here we've got a possibility of the shares moving towards a line of resistance from early April. That's currently pointing at £1.20, and that would be valid if we get an end of day close above 80 pence today, which was previously resistance earlier in the week. Finishing off with Zephyr, which is another relatively new name for the tiddlers. Here we've got the break of that resistance line there from September at 0.7 pence, and while we're above that, looking for a target on Zephyr as high as 1.3 or maybe even 1.4 at the top of that rising September trend channel. But the upside really valid as long as we remain above 0.7 on Zephyr. That's it for me today. More updates hopefully over the weekend.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.